Floodwaters from continual torrential downpours overwhelmed the lowlands of the valleys of Dennery North on the weekend, triggering mudslides and crushing floodwaters which transformed roadways and footpaths into raging rivers. The island had been bludgeoned by inclement weather over the past 4 weeks, with rainfall that lashed the already saturated, soiled landscape in fits and starts. The rising floodwaters in some places were too treacherous to traverse, leaving a few communities cut off. Dennery North MP Sean Edward points to the confluence of factors he says compounded the situation in the valley.
This morning we saw the effects of roughly 3 weeks of continuous rainfall. Even yesterday we had quite a bit of rain, although it was intermittent and it was not persistent. But you must take into consideration also the fact that the ground has been saturated for some time now. As I said, roughly 3 weeks of continuous rainfall. But as we moved into early evening, the rainfall was more steady and it got progressively worse in the wee hours when we got the real deluge. As I said, the ground already been saturated, so quite naturally there would have been runoff, and it was just a matter of time before the waterways became overwhelmed.
While the heavy rains cut off accessibility to some communities, the onslaught of sustained showers overtopped riverbanks with the force of cascading waters, sending a chill down the spines of many a resident. The rains evoked vivid memories for the inhabitants of the valley, who are all too familiar with the adverse effects of severe systems of recent memory.
Given the volume of water we had in the area. So the water level rose quite quickly and some communities were cut off as a result. You could not have moved from Dennery to Larissus because the road in the vicinity of the Caddy Bridge was completely submerged. It was also very difficult to move from the intersection of Lapel and Larissus to get to the main road. That particular stretch of road was cut off for a while, and it was only at about maybe 6:45, 7 o'clock that vehicles were able to traverse. Attempting to move from Lapel to Lime, that was virtually impossible up until say 7:30 minutes to 8.
Edward is asking the public to err on the side of caution in the wake of the trough system, with the Atlantic hurricane season reaching its apex and more rain from tropical weather systems on the horizon in the local weather forecast.
We had quite a bit of rain, and as I said, the water level had risen quite quickly. And just moving forward, I want people to be as cautious as possible. Those persons who have animals tied in the various fields, they need to move those animals to higher ground, because looking at the forecast, it appears as if there's more rain to come. And given the fact that the ground is already saturated, it's quite possible that we will have maybe another spell of flooding.
Director of the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, Doreen Gustav, says Dennery's geographic location makes it extremely susceptible to flash flooding.
We expect a lot of flooding in that area, but we have that early warning system, and we are trying to complete it with a siren. That is not in place yet, but we have the water level sensors that will tell us that the water is rising and that persons should be careful, remain vigilant, take note of what is happening, and if there is need for evacuation, to be evacuated.
According to the Met Office, a tropical wave located 550 miles east of the Lesser Antilles, which is moving westward near 17 miles per hour, is expected to affect the region on Tuesday. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.